So tomorrow, my favorite person is having a birthday. Well, technically, it's tomorrow when you see the video. I'm making the video earlier, but Nolin's birthday is July 10th. I have no idea how I've been so fortunate. It's only been by God's leading, God's grace in my life, that I am married to such an incredible husband. No, he's not perfect. We're not perfect. We have lots of struggles in our marriage, just like anyone else. So I just thought it'd be fun in this video to talk a little bit about how we met, kind of my perspective through it all. We do have a video on our love story that we shot a few years ago. If you want to check that one out, card's up here. But I thought it'd just be fun to revisit, go down memory lane a little bit, and then just share a little bit about some of my favorite things about my husband. However, before we jump into it, I just want to thank today's sponsor. This past year I've taken up a new interest, which is indoor plants, and I've never been like a huge green thumb. I tend to kill things pretty quickly, but I've been somewhat successful in the last few months, and a lot of my green plants have actually been surviving. And there's just something so invigorating to me about walking into a room and having greenery hanging from either the windows or the ceiling or sitting on the floor, etc. It just kind of gives a fresh feeling to a room and calms you in a sense. So Skillshare has thousands of online classes that help creatives expand their minds and learn new things. And speaking of houseplants, they even have classes on gardening and caring for houseplants. If you're a beginner, check out Happy Houseplants, Caring for Your Plants by Chris Satch. It's a short 27-minute class that will take you through the basics from potting to watering and caring for your plants. And if houseplants aren't your thing, there's plenty of other classes to learn from as well, from cooking to painting and everything in between. The first 1,000 people to sign up through my link below in the description get 1 month free trial to check it out, see if it's for you, and if you don't like it, you can cancel and no cost to you. It's a great deal, so definitely go check it out, and it's really nice to be able to watch classes without ads constantly running, because that tends to interrupt our learning process. So they don't run ads on their classes, which is another great perk. So yeah, links down in the description. First 1,000 people get a 1 month free trial to Skillshare. Now, I'm really bad with dates. My husband can rattle off dates throughout his whole life, pretty much, and things that happened. However, I believe it was 2010 that I met my husband for the first time. I think we had actually seen each other before, but I don't recollect it. So it was 2010. I was 21? Oh, Nolin is so much better at dates than I am. Let me think. 10 years ago, 32, 22. I think I would have been 21. 2010. Yeah, I would have been 21 because I was 23 when we got married. So, sorry, does it really even matter? I'd been asked to teach at one of our private schools out in Oregon, and it was the start of a whole new adventure for me. So I drove across the states. It was like one of my favorite road trips when I was single. I did it all by myself. I was a major loner, independent person. I love friends and hanging out, but I just still love things like traveling and being alone, and yeah, I'm weird that way. Anyway, the first recollection I have of meeting him, it was soon after school had started. There was a youth function, and he was kind of sitting over in the corner. And for some reason, I remember thinking he's not from the area. I was pretty sure he was from another church congregation that was a few hours away. But later I found out that he was from there. He definitely was the type of guy that tends to not talk too much unless he's with people he knows. And he's changed more in that area as well. But yeah, he tends to be more quiet in large groups. And I was always attracted to the guys that tended to be a little bit more quiet. There was something kind of mysterious about them. They seemed so knowledgeable and smart, and, and Nolin definitely fit that description. But it definitely wasn't love at first sight. At that point in my life, I was completely not interested in relationships at all. I had been in some bad experiences in the past. Relationships I wanted to forget. I was pretty sure I was incapable of relationships at that point, so I was not even thinking about dating. However, the odd thing was, it wasn't long after I was out there. We were in, I don't know if it was a few months or a few weeks, and it was prayer meeting one night. We were having church service, and Nolin was having the topic. And I remember he got up front, and he was so confident in himself, and he was a very good teacher, a very good speaker. He was very confident about the Bible. He knew his Bible. He read well. And I was just looking at him, and suddenly it was like this voice was just so clear in my mind. It said, "This is the man that you're going to marry." And I just went completely weak. I was not the type of girl that gets all weak around guys, not at all. But seriously, that feeling of that is your husband was just came over me that strong that I just went completely limp. Like it was, I hardly even knew him at the time. But I really respected him, admired him. And I fought that feeling for months afterwards. I was scared of relationships. I was scared of dating. I was petrified of the thought of commitment and marriage, and I wasn't sure about him, even though I had gotten this revelation, so to speak. Fast forward to the end of the school year. Now, in the Mennonite circles, it can be a little bit customary, depends who it is. Not all men do this, but it's kind of a note of respect when a boy calls the girl's dad to ask permission to date his daughter. And so that was always something that I admired in men. But anyway, so Nolin calls my dad and tells him who he is and says that he would like to date me. And my dad, he tends to be very blunt and very straightforward, and he basically told him, well, he said, I don't think she'll say yes. You can try, but she just doesn't like boys much right now. So poor Nolin, he kind of got off on a bad foot. And prior to that, he had called, and my mom, this is my frank parents, I guess, my mom had answered, and she had noticed it was an out-of-state number. And when Nolin asked for my dad, she said, is this a sales call? Because if it's a sales call, he does not want to talk to you. Because they were always flooded with sales calls, and my dad would just get upset when people would call and ask for him, and here it was just a sales call. So poor Nolin got mistaken to be a salesperson, and then my dad told him that I don't like guys. So he had kind of a rough start, and he had to muster up the courage to come ask me out. Wouldn't you know it, my dad promptly calls me and tells me, hey, I'm just giving you a heads up. There's some boy named Nolin out there, and he's going to be coming knocking around on your door. And I'm like, oh no. And I literally panicked. And when I panic, I run. Like if there's conflict, my tendency is to leave. Like if there's a fight, I just leave. I'm emotional or something, I run. And it's not good. I'm trying to work on it. But I was at the school when my dad called, and I just promptly left. I was like, I'm not going to be here. I'm leaving. And wouldn't you know it, he actually came to school to ask me out, and I wasn't there. So I was trying to avoid him. One of my good friends flew out to drive back with me, and we had like this large church school picnic at the end of the year. I tried to avoid him at all costs. I told my friend, you stay right beside me. I do not want to talk to him. I don't want anything to happen. And so we made sure that he never got a chance to talk to me alone. It was so mean, but I was seriously terrified. Why is this story getting so long? This memory's coming back, I guess. Anyway, so he didn't call me on the ride home, but he did call me, I think it was the day after I got home. And it was actually a godsend that I had known ahead of time that he was going to ask me out, because if he would have come right away and asked me, I would have been that terrified I would have just told him no at the spot. Said, nope, I'm not ready for this. I'm not into relationships. However, because I never gave him a chance when I was out there, my dad had given me a heads up warning, I had all this time that I was forced to think about this. And I was forced to pray about it. And by the time he called me, I was feeling like this is something that God wants me to do. So after he called me, wondering if I'd be interested in dating him or starting a relationship with him, I forget how he worded it, I called him back the following day, and I said I was willing to go ahead with it. After we hung up, I started crying, and I threw the phone across the lawn because I was so scared. So it's just the craziest story, I know. Most girls are just so like, dating, relationships, this is great. And I was just like petrified because I very seriously did not want to break his heart. I just felt like I was almost incapable of relationships. And I was so independent. I'm like, can I actually commit to a relationship? And when we date in the Mennonite culture, it's taken seriously. So if you say yes to a date, it's not like you just go out for a date for a night just for the fun with someone. If you go and date someone, it's kind of like a courtship that you're saying, yes, I'm interested in seeing if our relationship could work for marriage. So when we date, we take it seriously. And so that's why, yeah, it was such a big deal to me. We had an up and down dating experience, a lot of good times, a lot of hard times. We worked through things. He was so gracious with my fears. with me, with all my weird quirks and whatever all that I brought to the table. And so yeah, we look back at our dating, we see the fun times, but we also see a lot of the hard times that we had to work through. However, I do believe that working through those hard times when we were dating actually set us up for a much better start in marriage. I just remember I was really battling through, is this what I'm supposed to do? God, is this the person you want for me to marry? And I'm not one that believes that we should always pray for signs and miracles and that type of thing. But I prayed specifically 3 different times for 3 different signs from God that this was the husband for me, and they each time came true. I just remember the first, I'll just talk about the one and let the rest go. So up until this point, he had never bought me roses, and it's not like I was pining after roses. It was just different. He'd bring me different bouquets of flowers, and I actually really appreciated that because roses is kind of this gesture of love and whatever. He would buy me pretty bouquets of flowers, but never roses. And so I'm like, you know what? I'm going to pray that if this is truly what God wants for me, that he's going to send me roses. I prayed and fasted, and I had a deadline. I forget how long it was. It was a couple days or maybe a week. I think it was actually a week. These flowers would have to come within a week. We weren't actually living in the same area at the time. He was up in Alberta teaching and I was down in his area teaching. Yeah, I was at school one day and my friend, who is now my sister-in-law, I was staying with them. She called me and said, hey, you have a box on the front porch. I think it's flowers. I knew immediately. I just jumped in my car and headed home as quick as I could. And there was a big box of flowers from an online company. I forgot to mention that throughout this prayer and fasting, I had prayed, Lord, as an extra token that this is truly, truly from you, make it 24 roses. And when I opened that box, there was 24 red roses in there. And it was just this, I can't even describe the feeling of that. It was just absolutely unreal. Such a God moment. And yeah, it wasn't like I was just from there on, I was completely always 100% on board, but that did ease my mind and I was committed. And even up until our wedding day though, it was just like I had doubts and anxiety about it. And my problem with loving to be alone really was affecting it. I'm like, man, can I actually be married to a person and be in such a intimate, close relationship for forever and not go bananas because I enjoyed my me time so much? I prayed more and I just prayed, Lord, on my wedding day, please don't let me ever have any doubts again, please. And it happened. He once again answered my prayer. Our wedding day was one of the happiest days of my life. From then on out, we've had our ups and downs, but I have never once looked back. I've never doubted for once that our marriage wasn't meant to be. I just see God's hand throughout our lives, and it's always good for me to go back and remember sometimes and just talking about it. I did not mean to go down on such a bunny trail, but however, that is kind of how I met, the beginning of our love story, and married life was so much better than I could have ever imagined, and I feel like I truly, truly fell in love with him after we were married. And for years, it was just like we were in the honeymoon phase. And it was probably one of the reasons I was so scared to get pregnant is because I didn't want to leave that era behind. As I knew with a child, it would bring a lot more responsibilities. But each phase of life has just been incredible. There's been some really hard times, but it's always the hard times that bring you closer and make me realize what a gem of a husband I have. So just off the top of my head, since we're celebrating Nolin, he will be turning 34 July 10th. Actually, for his birthday, Lord willing, we plan to be in Alaska. We'll actually be halibut fishing. Can't wait. Woo! This will be exciting. So when you're watching this, hopefully we're having a great time. So as far as character traits, the first thing that always comes to my mind when I think of him, and one of my most favorite things about Nolin, is his unconditional love for me and for the family. He is such a servant at heart, and he truly takes those verses where it says that husbands are to love their wives as Christ loved the church and gave himself for it, basically laying his life down for us. And he does it day after day after day. And he loves me when I'm not nice. He loves me when I sure don't deserve it. When I'm going through hard times, when I'm sick, when we said our vows through sickness and health, it really hit home because he has been taking care of us when I've been so sick, sometimes just in bed all the time, can't go anywhere. It's affected him. I saw how hard it was for him because, you know, he'd come home from a hard day's work and I hardly have any work done. I'm discouraged. I'm struggling mentally. He's trying to be, you know, positive for me, just taking care of Xander so I can rest and just being a support for me. And then also because when I'm not doing well, I can hardly get out. And so we're stuck at home a lot, and that can really wear on him as well. And so he's just been amazing. He has never once made me feel like less of a person because of my illness, which can happen. And speaking of his unconditional love, I just remember specifically the first time I really thought about it. We were engaged, trying to get this house ready to live in. The poor guy, I feel so sorry for him. I tend to be like this really driven, goal-oriented person. And back east here, the whole culture tends to just be more go, 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 get things done. Out west, they're a lot more relaxed, laid back. What gets done, gets done. Yes, they work really hard and they really do things, but they also know how to take life a little bit slower. And so when he came back here and I was here desperately trying to get all the stuff done in the house, you know how we women can be, especially me, it was his birthday. It was his birthday. This would have been, what, 10 years ago? Oh my. Anyway, and he was like, hey, we should go out and do something fun. Go play mini golf or whatever it was. And we went out, and the whole time I was just uptight. I did not want to be there. I did not want to be playing mini golf because there was people coming to paint the inside of the house. There was still a bunch of things that needed to be done. I think some drywalling, some electrical, like taking things down off the wall. I forget what all needed to be done to prep for paint. And I was already running short on time, like how in the world am I going to do this? Anyway, so he kept poking and prodding, asking, what is wrong? Why aren't you yourself? And I just felt terrible. It was his birthday. We should have been celebrating him. And here I was just so uptight. The house needed to be done. There was construction crews coming. So I finally told him, and I just felt like this horrible person. I forget what he said. He went and dropped me off at night back at my house. And the next morning I came to our home here to start working, and everything was done. And there was like flowers laying on the table with a little note saying, I'm sorry, I haven't been helping more with whatever. I forget what it was. I just remember feeling so overwhelmed by his unconditional love because I had literally been acting so mean to him. And he turns around and comes and takes care of all the work. He worked all night long and then went straight basically home. I don't even think he got any sleep. And then he went straight to his construction job. That was the first time that I suddenly got this picture in my mind how much Jesus loves us. We're sinners, we're full of this sin and this yucky stuff, and he loves us despite of it all. And that's how I had been. I had not been nice to him. I had been mean. I had been kind of just irritable and cranky and just being a not fun person to be around. And I was mad at him. And on his birthday, and then he turns around and displays this act. He could have reacted. He had a full right to react and be mad at me because, hey, he deserves a night off. He deserved to go celebrate his birthday. But no, he came, he did all the work and apologized, and he shouldn't have been apologizing. And I just remember that struck something in my mind that I'll never forget. And he's been that way ever since. I thought maybe that was something that would just be in our dating years, but he has continued that type of love and serving us. The times that I definitely deserve not to be loved the most is often when he comes through and shines the most and helps me out and does things even when I've just been a complete nasty person. I have just been chattering nonstop. Just a couple more things, favorite things about him. I love that we can just sit down and talk. We have a lot of more deep conversations when we get time to talk. Sometimes it seems like it goes a while before we actually have times and moments we can get together and just discuss life. But I love his intellect, very knowledgeable about life, about history, and the type of person that loves to dive into deeper things like the meaning of life. We both love coffee shop atmospheres. It has been some of our best memories. Just grabbing cups of coffee, going out together, talking, traveling. We love traveling together. So thankful I married someone that enjoys traveling the way I do. There's just something about traveling, getting away from your normal routine where you're just so used to living life together in this box in a certain way. And when you travel together, it kind of brings back that young feeling where you're meeting new cultures together, meeting new people, new places, and it just kind of it sparks that romance again and that young in love feeling. I love what an incredible dad he is. That was a quality I saw that in him back when we were dating and knew he would be an amazing father. He does so well with taking time out for Xander, playing with him, reading to him, does much better than I do. And just, yeah, being a steady rock in our family. So, yeah, it's just something that I so much love in him. Another thing, he never ridicules me. He never makes me feel like, I have to be something before he can love me. And I'm specifically thinking of weight right now. I have really struggled with weight, especially since my autoimmune disease. I just go up and down, up and down, up and down. And like if I go in a flare, I can like lose 20, 25 pounds, maybe even more. And then once I can start eating again, it's like my body and my mind, I think there's a connection there. I'm obviously eating too much or something, but I feel like I try so hard to manage my weight and to keep it down. There's something I'm missing, I know, but I think my body is also reacting to thinking it was starving and then holding on to extra weight. It's been a real battle for me, and it's something that I take very personally, and I hate it. Sorry, this is kind of confession time, veering off. It's something I've actually, especially lately, I've been really almost battling a mild depression because of it, where I don't want to go out, I don't want to meet people. It's not so much that I've gained the weight, it's just the helpless feeling of like, can I get it to stop? I'm trying to reverse it, and it just feels like it keeps slowly creeping on. It just leaves me in panic and desperation, and I'm trying various different things. But anyway, that is something he has been so supportive in, and he's very good at complimenting me, telling me, oh, you're more beautiful than when I married you. And I know that's not true, but he's amazing at just making me feel secure, knowing that he'll love me no matter what, even though I'm desperately trying not to come to the extreme what as far as weight goes. I'm trying to start working out again. Oh, I'm so stiff and sore, guys. The other day, I was trying to do these push-ups at night. Nolin was trying to like rub out my muscles. And there's this one muscle like right behind my arm here that hurt so bad that if he just lightly touched it, I would just yelp in pain. Anyway, so we are trying to get back in shape for probably the millionth time. But anyway, I am just bunny trailing, but I feel like this is one of those kind of chatty videos that different of you want me to do more often. So I'm just sitting down, chatting to friends. Anyway, so those are some of my favorite things about my husband. There's so many more, but those are the key things. The character that he has, his unconditional love, and I just love his knowledge and perception of life. He is just my rock. I go to him when I have questions about things, when I'm not sure about something, and I always trust his answers because he often rationalizes through things and why he thinks a certain way and helps me process my thinking and why or why not I would agree with him or not agree with him. Most times I definitely agree with him. So he's just been amazing on so many levels. I'm not trying to paint him like he's perfect because he's not, but he's perfect for me. So yeah, anyway. So happy birthday to my amazing husband. I'm just hoping and praying all still goes well. That will for sure be in Alaska when you're watching this. We'll soon be coming home after this video, and then I plan to show that to you guys. So hopefully we'll see some bears. We've been telling Xander we're going to go see bears catching fish. That's on the list. And some fishing, salmon fishing, halibut fishing. So ready for some family time, some vacation. So excited about it. See you guys later.